It's Danny Flexen here for SecondsOut. Delighted to be joined by my good friend and Hall of Fame promoter, Frank Warren. Frank, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Dan?
I'm very good, thank you. You're coming off a very successful show at the O2 on Saturday night. I was and still am one of the bigger critics of the main event happening because of the status of both guys in their careers. It was never thinking that it wouldn't be a good fight, and so it proved. Very dramatic, exciting fight. Your man didn't come out on top, unfortunately for you, but you did give the paying public a great spectacle. What are your reflections on the fight?
Well, I've said in the past that I thought Derek should have retired, and he proved me wrong. As far as Joe's concerned, it's a third loss in a very close and competitive fight. And Joe's loss is his other loss is against Zhang, who's the interim world champion. He's #1 ranked by the BO. So they're not dreadful losses. I mean, the first fight he sustained an injury to his eye, and the second one was quite emphatic. He got knocked out. He got knocked down in the fight, but he got up. And they're both licensed. They're checked medically, checked to box, and all those things. But I hear what you're saying. I prefer, guys don't be fighting when they're getting to 40, 38 years of age. But they're grown men, and as I say, they were medically cleared to box. They've had all the tests that the board asked them to have. At the end of the day, it was a very, 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 very keenly and competitive and absorbing and exciting fight, no doubt about that.
It was absorbing. The unfortunate side is that they were both absorbing a lot of punches as well, as is the case often.
Well, both of them, they're not, Joe gets caught in every fight he has. He's done that as an amateur all the way through. That's basically his style. And again, you and I have had conversations over the years where I've said, I prefer him not to do that, but he'd take a shot to land a shot, and Derek's the same. You get to a stage, where they're going to fight anyway. What I would hate is, like in Derek's case, if he'd done a Danny Williams or something like that. At least with a board, he's being checked regularly, and he's not going off to fight in some country where, basically he is an opponent, and there's not great medical supervision as to what goes on or what's happened in the past. But look, I understand where you're coming from. I hear it, and as I've said myself, I've actually gone out there and said before that he shouldn't be fighting. I did, said he should, but that's his choice. And as I say, the whole bloody arena was going crazy in there. I mean, the atmosphere was just amazing, and that was it. On a great card. I mean, every fight on there was a bloody good fight. It wasn't a bad fight. It's one of the best shows I think we've ever put on. Coming off what we did the week before, the Magnificent Seven show, it's they're just quality events.
We'll come back to the undercard of Saturday night in a little while, but just on Derek Chisora, he said he wants to have another 2 fights. He'd said 3 before Joyce, and that was his farewell to the O2 specifically. Will you be involved in the rest of Derek's journey?
Well, he has a contract with us. He has a contract, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, I spoke with him. He called me yesterday. We spoke together, and I wished him, give him my congratulations. And I said to him from my heart, I said, one thing that no one's ever going to say about you is you haven't got balls and you're not a warrior. I said, you're an absolute gladiator. And so is Joyce, Joe Joyce, and he showed that, both of them. I mean, unbelievable courage, the pair of them.
So is Chisora contracted to you guys for at least the next 2 fights? So if he does only have 2, will they both be with you?
If he does have 2, then it'll be with us, yeah. If he does that. He wants to get the 50 fights, he said. And he started with me, I mean, 17, 18 years ago. It's been a long journey. We've had our ups and downs on the way, but he said some nice things on Saturday, which was appreciated. And he mentioned our late matchmaker who committed suicide, Dean Powell, who was a bit of a mentor to him. So that was lovely, and it was a nice thing to do. So, I was pleased with that.
How would you like to see him match then for those last 2 fights?
I don't know, really. I've got to look at it. I mean, I'd like to see him have the easiest fights possible. We'll see. But the fact of the matter is, that'd be his choice. You know, he'll be looking for money fights. That's what he'll do because he's a professional boxer. And if you certain fights, well, all fights, all boxing's a risk, especially when you get older. When you get older, but there'd be a lot of risk involved if he wants to fight at the highest echelon.
How do you balance giving him those big money fights so he can sail off into the sunset with a hefty wallet, but keeping him safe as well? Because I've seen people talk about Wilder, Zhang.
I hear that. I hear what you're saying. Wilder had those brutal fights with certainly 2 brutal fights with Tyson prior to that. And I don't think what helped him. I don't think that, and I'm not taking anything away from anyone, that ayahuasca situation didn't help him. That didn't help him at all. It changed him. But listen, I don't know what he's doing now. I don't know if he's going to retire or what he's going to do. He'll do what he's got to do. As far as Derek's concerned, he's got a team around him. He's looked after by the same people look after AJ. So there'll be some discussions and see where he go from there. It's a bit too early yet to look at what's going to be done. It was, it's very fresh, and he'll need to rest up. Him and Joe both need to rest up and consider what they want to do in their future. They're in the toughest sport ever.
We'll talk about Joe in a sec, but the natural fight for Derek appears to be a trilogy with his biggest rival in his career, Dillian Whyte, and obviously doesn't have an official victory over him just yet. Many people felt he should have won the first fight, but he didn't. How easy is that for you to make? What is the situation with Whyte at the moment?
Well, you can make the fight if he's licensed. I don't believe he's licensed at the moment, but that's something that we'll have to investigate. But I don't think he's licensed at the moment, so we'll see.
But could it be made outside of the UK? Would that be a possibility without a British license? Like Saudi, for example?
Whereabouts?
Saudi, for example.
Well, the British Boxing Board of Control
manage the event.
So that's not going to happen.
Fair enough. All right. So moving on to Joe now. You've mentioned Derek's contracted to you. You're going to help him out the last 2 fights, presumably, of his career. What about Joe? Because losing to Zhang, the same man twice, top heavyweight in the world, fairly easy to come back from, and you did bring him back. What about now, having lost to Chisora?
Well, he's like I said, the loser goes down the pecking order, and that's where he is, and he's got a lot to think about. He's got a lot to think. I haven't spoke to Adam Morley's his manager. He's a very good manager, by the way. I haven't spoke with him yet. I know my son George has spoke with him, and they had a conversation, and we'll have a chat and see what we think, and then obviously then speak to Joe and give our opinion and see what he wants to do from now.
He said in a post-fight interview, Joe, that he still feels fresh, he still feels good in himself, and he wants to carry on. Does it worry you a little bit when you hear him say that, having watched the fight?
All fighters say that. All fighters want to carry on. Like I said to you, I'm not being specific about Joe or Derek. Fighters are the first people to know then when their powers are diminished, and basically, as we use the old phrase in boxing, when they're gone. They're not the men they were, but they're the last to admit it. And that's the problem. There's people around them who looks at it, including myself, and have some responsibility, and you've got to look at it and think about it. So, we'll see where it goes and it's as I say, it's the most dangerous of sports, and it's the risk and gain. What is there to be gained from fighting on, or if you feel that you can still do it, or if it can be done and people believe, then is that risk worth taking, and so forth. It was a close fight. There was nothing in that fight going into the last 2 rounds. It was the knockdown. It's the knockdown that done it. I think the 96-94 was about right.
But Joe, in the build-up to the fight, was talking about still having aspirations for world titles.
Of course he was. That's what fighters do, don't they? Going in there negatively, that's what they want, and that's where he was at. And, and let's get it right, going into the fight, I thought he was the favourite, and also the bookmakers, and I suppose every journalist, that proved everybody wrong.
Would you like to see him walk away now?
Who, Joe?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's how he feel. If that's how it is, yes. If that's how he wants to do it, then yes. But I'm not. That's his decision to make.
And if he does decide to carry on, will you still be involved? Will you still be backing him and bringing him back at whatever level he can fight at?
I think we've got to think of what all the options are, including a couple of things that you've mentioned, and also, and if he did carry on, who he'd fight, what he'd get paid, what's the risk and gain.
Fair enough. Now, you mentioned just there that Derek Chisora is, of course, looked after by 258 management, who also work with Anthony Joshua. What's relationship like now between you and them after that tweet they put out, which caused a lot of consternation?
I'll see Freddie. I've got to be honest. I forgot all about it. I see him at the fight, at the weigh-in, and I forgot all about it, to be quite honest. That's what happens when you get old. Maybe I should retire.
Well, I'm not suggesting that, but yeah. So as far as you're concerned, water under the bridge.
Like I said, it was at the time I didn't think it was a thing to do, but it's done, it's gone, and what am I going to do? Go and have yet another row over something that is irrelevant now. They're both on the program. Daniel's on the program. He's passed everything, and that's all I care about. And the fight's on the 21st. It's going extremely well. And we are applying now for an extension for more tickets.
But 100,000.
It can't go up to 100 at the moment. The maximum is 94.
94.
94 is the record, and that was the maximum. So if we can get past it, we'll try. But it's not about how many people you get in there. It's about the safety aspect of it. It's about the transport. It's about all those different aspects of it, because it's got to be a safely run event.
And has Daniel started training camp now?
Daniel's in training camp, yeah.
Is it here, or have they gone abroad again, do you know?
No, he's here, and the fight's here, he's here.
And how have you spoken to him? How's he feeling about everything?
He's feeling very, very positive, very positive. I spoke to Don as well. They're in a good place.
How much wrong word. How much knowledge do you have of AJ's camp and how that's going? Because you're obviously the enemy for them, but you are promoting the show. So you do need to have a certain level of diligence, I suppose.
How much knowledge I've got in it? I think, and I don't mean being disrespectful, I know Ben's an extremely good trainer. He looks after a couple of our fighters who fought on the bill, Moses, for example, and young Royston. And I know that he's going to come in. First of all, he's diligent. You only got to look at him. He's a diligent trainer. He puts everything into it. You know that he's going to, they're going to get him into great shape and so forth. For me, it's all about mental with AJ. I really believe that.
Have you got any idea of what sort of place he's in mentally now with the new team and so on?
Well, they're a winning team. They've had a couple of good wins, haven't they? He's bedded down well with them, and he's obviously gelled with Ben, and Ben's doing it and his team, and they're doing a good job together. So it's going to be. Look, Daniel knows he's got to prepare for the best AJ, and AJ's got to prepare for the best Daniel, because Daniel has matured a lot, certainly his last two fights.
You mentioned there a couple of your fighters are in the same camp as AJ in Moses and Royston. Will you be pumping them for information?
No, they train at different times.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Just talking of the undercard.
I've got a camera in there. I've got a camera in there anyway. So
yeah, of course you have, yeah. If Ben Davison's watching this, we want to assure you that Frank's joking, but maybe not.
No, maybe I'm not. Yeah,
he'll never know, will he? Undercard on Saturday night, although the two high
Stop picking your nose, Ben, I can see it.
Brilliant. Although the two high-profile heavyweights were dueling in the main event, the heavyweight that most people were talking about at the end of Saturday night's show was Moses Itauma, whose ambition to become the youngest ever heavyweight champion doesn't look so far-fetched with each time we watch him in action. Got rid of Marius Wach, a very experienced, usually durable campaigner, quicker than anyone ever has before. And didn't look like he was rushing his work in doing it either. Like he maybe could have got him out there even earlier. How impressed? Well, did he even surprise you?
I thought we'd get a few rounds out of it, to be quite honest. But what I like about him, and I drive him mad every time I talk to him, I keep banging on about a jab. You know, like all fighters, I bang on about a jab. I'm boring about it. I know. You know, for me, the best heavyweight jab, probably one of the best jabbers in the business, was Larry Holmes at his best. I told him, you know, to look at it, watch that jab, and it's the key to everything. And you're looking at one of the fights on the night with Ryan and Ryan Garner, and the fight he had with Archie Sharp, which was a competitive fight. But you watch him, and I was watching Ryan, what he was doing, where he was sort of, he wasn't getting any distance in his fights, and you know, and Archie's a really good mover and a good defensive fighter, certainly in those early rounds. And what impressed me watching that, and the experience they both had, those fighters, certainly what Ryan's had, is you look at Moses, how he gets his distance, he sets everything up off the jab. That's why he's so good. He's patient and he finds his openings, but everything comes off the jab. Throws that jab, he gets his, so he's always got his distance. He's not falling in. He's not got a step. He's got his distance before he lets his bombs go. And he was punch perfect. I mean, absolutely punch perfect against a guy whose resilience is sort of well respected in the trade, and the fella who, you know, is the gatekeeper because of, you know, his background and all the great fights he's been with over the years. But he's the guy who, Fraser Clark, for example, who's got, you know, what Harold Fraser, he's in his 30s, isn't he now?
Oh yeah, definitely in his 30s.
He fought him last year, so he was still in his 30s last year. All the experience he's got, and went the distance with him. Yuri Fury done the same. Dillian White, a lot of them gone the distance and took him the distance. Good learning fights for him. And you look at our kid, he's a teenager. He's a teenager, 19 years of age. Look what he did there, and the performance. And, you know, I'm going to tell you now, coming off of that fight, I'd make him and Fraser Clark today. I'd make it this afternoon if they could do it.
Well, I was going to ask you about that, because we asked on Twitter straight after the fight, who's the highest ranked heavyweight you feel Moses Itauma would beat right now? And we had Fraser Clark as an answer. We had Fabio Wardley. We had Dillian White as an answer as well. Who do you think are some of the best heavyweights you'd be happy to put him in with right now, apart from Fraser Clark, who you've just mentioned?
The thing we was trying to get was some rounds on Saturday night. That's what I was looking for him to get some rounds under his belt. And I'm not saying that you want him to keep people up. You know, the name of the game is get in there and do the job. And what for me was that he had to, is that, you know, he, like I said, he's a tremendous finisher, and he's a very smart boxer. I'd put him in with literally any of those guys at that level, any of the British guys. Having said that, I will want to know about his stamina, because I don't know yet.
Yeah,
and that's what we thought was going to happen. We thought this fellow might get him past, you know, 6-7 rounds and see how he goes. But I mean, I know he's done a few rounds, but it's important to know that in a real, especially when they're in with smart guys. But I've got to tell you, the way he's boxing, he's as smarter than any of them.
Yeah, it's a tricky one to match him, I suppose, now, because you do want to get him those rounds, but you don't want to put him to world level before he's ready for it as well.
I can look at a lot of fighters. Hang on, let me kill this. Is it still on?
Yeah, you're still there.
Yeah. I can think of a lot of fighters in the. I'm not going to mention names. There's a few guys though, certainly in the top 20, top 15 in the world, that I would match him with.
Sure, you don't want to mention names?
No, not yet. But I've mentioned one already, a British one, which I'd love to see that fight. I'm not being disrespectful to Fraser. I mean, Fraser's got a great pedigree, you know that. And look at that last fight. I mean, that was a big fight with him and Fabio. That was a really, really close run fight. The styles make fights, and he's, you know, 19 years old. He's a prodigy. There's no doubt about that.
Good stuff. Now, going from heavyweight all the way down to super bantam, one of the most impressive performers on Saturday night was Dennis McCann, doing what I'm sure you hoped he would have done the first time round against Baluta, but only the second time Baluta has been beaten clearly, I think, in his career, the first being by your other super bantamweight, Liam Davies. A lot of people now be calling for McCann against Davies. Does Liam still have to fight Shabazz Massoud?
Yes, it's contracted.
So,
yeah. But him and Dennis is a big fight down the road. But talking about Dennis, Dennis's performance was a coming of age for me. Watching him, the way he went about his work against a guy who comes to fight, he's very competitive. He managed to get Baluta on the back foot, which is sometimes a bit difficult because he makes it difficult for him. The kids, Baluta's got a good engine. He's can be a little bit unorthodox at times. He can, and can old man you. But I think that Dennis boxed superbly well and picked his shots, picked his moments, and that was a really, really good quality performance by him in a very good fight.
Could we see him against the Davies Massoud winner next year?
I think so. It's a massive fight. And
then is there, I know you never want to think like this because they're your fighters, but is there a case of hoping that by next year or the end of next year, Naoya Inoue may have moved up beyond super bantamweight?
I think he will move up. I think he will move up. He will move up. There's no doubt about that. And Inoue's at this stage is too much. I won't make that fight with Dennis yet. He needs more experience. Liam says he wants it, but again, I would say let them go up. I mean, if he's going up, let him go up and then get a bit more experience between them, and then we'll see what happens in 18 months' time.
Yeah, because once Inoue does move up, if that happens, the division looks pretty wide open at world level then, and they could be maturing at just the right time.
Correct.
Great stuff. Now, something that did kind of explode during fight week last week, and it meant you were being asked questions not about what you wanted to talk about, which was first box-wise and then the show itself, was this story in the Times, I'm sure you've read it, about you guys potentially moving over to DAZN next year when the contract with TNT comes to an end. Can you tell us anything about that?
No, because the contract's not on an end. We have a contract with TNT and we're happy where we are. Another great show we put on for them. They like what we're doing and we like what we're doing with them. And when the time's appropriate for us to be negotiating, we'll negotiate. But there won't be negotiating for any newspaper, that's for sure, or public.
So is it fair to say that no decision has been made yet?
It's fair to say I've got nothing to say about it. It's totally an irrelevant matter at the moment. In this moment in time, we have a contract with our broadcaster who we're working very closely with.
Fair enough. Now, you mentioned also in the fight week build-up, you'd had a chat with Tyson Fury in advance of Joyce Chisora. He sent Derek a very nice message after the fight as well.
He did.
What's Tyson's kind of general mindset like? How's he getting on, and when does he start his training camp?
He had just come back from his holiday. I was hoping he was going to come down to the show. I don't know what happened. But anyway, he just come back from his holiday. He said he had a very good holiday with his family and he's in a very good place, as he's been every time I've spoken with him over the last or since the fight. He's in a good place. He'll start getting seriously into his training camp, I would think, sometime probably in beginning October, mid-October. As you know, he trains he ticks over every day because that's what he does. He's in a gym and he looks in great shape, so he's doing that anyway. But the serious stuff will start probably sometime in October.
And with that in mind, Spencer Brown did an interview with Sky Sports website in which he said that there might be some changes in terms of the training methods for Tyson ahead of the rematch, but the team itself will remain the same. There was obviously a lot of speculation about whether the team would change after the loss to Usyk. What do you make of that decision to retain the same unit?
I haven't spoken to Tyson about it. He knows what he's got to do. Tyson's not a fool. He knows what he's got to do in the ring, and he knows, his game plan. What his game plan's got to be. The key to winning that fight was in the last fight. He knows what he's got to do.
Would you have liked to have seen any changes in the team, though?
All I want is Tyson, when he goes into that ring, to be in a good place. That's what you want. And all this speculation and everybody's opinion, it's all great. The one it matters to more than anybody is Tyson. And he's not some young kid who's just starting out. He's, what's he now, 35, 36 years of age, former world champion, two-time world champion. He's no schmuck.
So in other words, it doesn't matter who's in the corner. If Tyson does what he should do, he should win.
Yeah, and if the corner does what it should do as well, then that'll add to it.
Fair enough. One person you did see on Saturday night was the other side of that coin, Oleksandr Usyk. He was there at ringside, seemed to enjoy himself immensely. What did you glean?
Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, what did you glean from spending time with him? Does he seem, focused and ready for the rematch also?
Yeah, he's focused. I mean, it was I think we got a call on. I think it was Thursday or Friday, saying that he was over because he'd done some fundraising thing at the embassy in London, and they wanted to come along to the fight. And I was, yeah, it's not a problem. Be a pleasure. And yeah, spoke to him and Alex, his manager, and yeah, a little bit of ribbing and piss taking between the two of us, and whatever. Look, like I said, him and Tyson are two unbelievable heavyweights who gave us yet another epic battle at the highest echelon of the sport, the four belts. And there was nothing in that fight. No, whatever anybody's opinion is, who won, who didn't win, there was nothing in the fight. And it's going to be a brilliant rematch. And they both have a similar mindset that they are winners.
Now, Usyk has said that if he defeats Tyson for a second time, he plans to drop back down to cruiserweight and become undisputed there again. What do you think Tyson will do, win or lose, in the next fight with Usyk?
I mean, I've not even thought about it. Get the fight out of the way first. All that, Dan, is irrelevant. The big fight is all that matters. And then after that, things will fall into place. You're going to get a situation where it might be taken out of their hands, the fighters. It'll be, there's mandatories due. They may vacate other belts. They may not. Who knows? And in the meantime, there's fighters are going to keep winning and coming through and getting back into contention, or there's interim champions going to be there. So some of those fights might be decided not by them, by the governing bodies, if they want to hang on to their belts.
Now, something that is relevant, you won the 5 versus 5. You whitewashed your great rival, Eddie Hearn, which I'm sure gave you immense satisfaction. But it also won you the right to an extra $3 million, reportedly. Have you had that money yet? Have you spent it yet? What's the situation?
No, it wasn't my money. It went to Queensberry. It's Queensberry's. That was the deal. What's happened to the money is it's been banked and sorted out, and it's our business.
But you've received it.
Of course, I received it. We got paid on the night.
Yeah, I'm not casting aspersions on Turkey Al Sheikh. I'm just saying, you've got the money now in the bank account.
Yeah, we got it. Yeah, we got our money, and that was the deal, wasn't it? The team that we put in 5 of our fighters. They got extremely well paid, and obviously they're fighters we've invested a lot of money in, bringing them through and so forth, and that was the deal.
Have any of them called you up since, saying, well, we know you got this extra $3 million. How about giving me some extra, buy me a car or something,
Yeah, of course they have, yeah. Carry on.
They can keep calling. Just on the subject of fighters, I know you're probably sick of being asked about this by this point, but I do have to ask every couple of weeks when we speak to each other. Anthony Yarde, any progress?
No, it's in the same position. He has a contractual obligation to us, and we expect it to be honoured.
Must be frustrating for him as much as you, I suppose, that he's in the prime years of his career.
Well, you would think so. But we'll see.
Okay. And what's next coming up? When's the next show that we're going to see your fighters out on? Obviously, we know the US show is next week, and you'll be going out for that.
Shows next week. We got a couple of shows in August. Two big shows in September. We got Nick Ball is going to be fighting in Liverpool, defending his title on a big show we're going to be putting on there. We're going to do another Magnificent 7 before the end of the year. We've got loads and loads of things coming up. I mean, we got a big roster, and lots of meetings taking place this week to determine what where and what we're going to do. We've got Big Zhang. I'm looking to try and, if I can, get a show on with him in China. We're seeing if that can be done. So we're very, very busy.
You mentioned Nick Ball there. You said earlier you wouldn't really fancy chucking Dennis McCann or Liam Davis in with Naoya Inoue just yet. What about Nick Ball when Inoue moves up to featherweight? Because he's expressed an interest in that fight, Nick has.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. But I mean, that won't be happening in Liverpool, that's for sure.
No, well, I was going to say, yeah, I'm not trying to do false advertising on your behalf. Any idea who it will be opposing him in Liverpool? Will it be the mandatory or?
We're working on a couple of things. We're just waiting to see if we can get the contract signed, then we'll announce it. But it'd be a good homecoming from him with a really good card, really good, strong Liverpool card. We've got some great ranked young fighters up there, and we'll have them out on the card as well with the Everton. With Paul Stevenson's team and so forth, a lot of those guys will be on as well.
Well, I was going to ask, will we see Andrew Kane back out after his outstanding performance?
Yeah. They'll all be on the show.
Yeah, I mean, he looked amazing against Ashley Lane, winning that British and Commonwealth title.
He did. He was very patient, and he actually put some great shots together. He done extremely well.
It was hard to believe it was the same guy who'd lost to Baluta.
Yeah, he just lost his way in that fight. It happens. It's not the end of the world. I keep saying, guys get beat. It's what you learn from the fight and how you come back and how you deal with a defeat. There's lots of guys over the years who've lost fight. I mean, I know he's much older, but look at Derek. He had 13 losses on his card. And every fight we made when he was with me, every fight he made after he had a couple of losses were better fights. And he was unlucky in a couple of them. But, it's... you're going to get losses, and that determines what sort of person you are, what sort of fighter you are, how you come back from that. And I've seen guys over here. I mean, I see, Amir Khan in one round get knocked over and come back. Lots of them have done it.
Good stuff. Frank, really appreciate your time as always. Let's catch up again soon. But yeah, enjoy your flight out to the US and the show at the weekend.
I will do my best, Danny. You look after yourself, my son.
Cheers, mate. Take care.